There are times in life when you feel like everything is falling apart. Like the ground beneath you is no longer solid. You try to move forward, but every door you knock on remains closed. The people you trusted seem distant, and the goals you once felt passionate about begin to lose meaning. These are the moments where many feel lost. They feel abandoned by life, by fate, sometimes even by God. And yet, what we call being lost is often something very different. What we call disorientation is, in truth, a deep spiritual redirection. When a traveler walks into a thick forest with no visible trail ahead, he may believe he's lost. But what if the road he's left behind was leading him to a cliff? What if the uncertainty he faces now is protecting him from a greater fall? What if, instead of being lost, he is simply being asked to trust the silence, to take another path? This is what many people overlook. The discomfort of not knowing does not mean you have no direction. It means the direction is now coming from a place beyond your logic. You are not lost. You are being redirected by a force greater than you. When you listen to the stories of great sages, monks, warriors, or spiritual seekers throughout time, you begin to notice a pattern. Their transformation rarely began in success. It often began in collapse. It began when they were rejected, broken, isolated, or misunderstood. But it was in those moments that something subtle began to awaken inside them. A question arose. What if this is not the end? What if this is not a punishment? What if this is preparation? The human mind, when left unchecked, sees life only in straight lines. If you do good, you should get good. If you work hard, you should succeed. If you love, you should be loved back. But life is not a machine. It is a mystery. It unfolds with layers and seasons. It does not owe you outcomes. It offers you opportunities. And when you begin to understand this, your suffering transforms into insight. When you accept it, when you understand it, your pain transforms into insight. The no's you receive begin to feel like gentle nudges away from what no longer serves you. The delays you experience become the sacred pauses needed to deepen your roots. The heartbreak you endured begins to reveal a hidden mercy, that something not meant for you was removed before it could derail your purpose. In the Shaolin tradition, we do not rush toward progress. We surrender to the process. And the process often includes periods of emptiness, quiet, and deep internal friction. There is a Chinese saying, "The arrow that flies the farthest is pulled back the strongest." Maybe right now, you are being pulled back. Maybe everything feels like it's moving in reverse. But what if that is only because life is preparing to launch you forward in a way that you cannot yet imagine? Every great transformation begins with disorientation. Like a caterpillar trapped in a cocoon, the process of becoming a butterfly does not look elegant. It looks like destruction. The old form dissolves completely. Identity vanishes. Movement stops. There is no certainty of what comes next. But deep within that dark space, the codes of flight are being written. The same applies to you. You may not see it, but your soul is being restructured. Your vision is being redefined. Your calling is being clarified. And all of this is happening not because you are failing, but because you are ready for more. But here lies the challenge. Most people give up during this stage. They mislabel the discomfort as punishment. They interpret the silence of God as absence. They try to force doors open that were never theirs to walk through. They confuse movement with progress, forgetting that sometimes the most powerful growth happens when you stand still. Stillness is not weakness. It is receptivity. It is the sacred posture of someone who trusts that even in the absence of visible signs, the invisible is still at work. God does not always speak in miracles. Sometimes he speaks in interruptions, in disappointments, in detours. When things fall apart, it is often his way of removing what blocks your next level, not because you are not good enough, but because you are now too big for the life you once lived. A seed, if it remains a seed forever, has failed its purpose. It must crack open. It must leave its comfort behind. It must root itself in darkness before it sees the sun. The same is true for you. There are conversations you were not meant to be in, opportunities you were not meant to pursue, roads that would have taken you away from your highest truth. And so, in His wisdom, God closed those roads, not to hurt you, but to heal you, not to punish you, but to preserve you. The redirection is always a blessing. The no you received is often a louder yes to a future you have yet to comprehend. And yet, you must be willing to pause, to listen, to let go of your own plans when they no longer bring peace. Because redirection is not just about external change, it is about inner surrender. Are you willing to release what you thought your life was supposed to look like? Are you open enough to walk into the unknown with faith? Because that is where miracles happen. Not in the known, but in the surrender. Faith is not believing things will go your way, it is believing that whatever way they go, you will grow. That God knows more than your mind can comprehend. That His timing is more precise than your calendar. That your delays are not signs of distance, but signs of divine strategy. Like a master sculptor, He is removing what no longer fits the image He has for you. And sometimes, what He removes is exactly what you prayed for. That does not mean your prayer was ignored. It means your spirit is being aligned with something higher. There is also a deep humility required here. To admit that maybe we don't know what's best for us. That maybe the relationship we thought would complete us was actually sent to teach us. That the job we lost was the only way we discover our true calling. That the storm we prayed against was actually the path that led us to our awakening. It is in looking back that you will see the invisible hand that guided you, but until then, you must trust without seeing. This trust is not passive, it is active surrender. It means showing up each day with openness. It means continuing the inner work even when nothing outside is changing. It means planting seeds even when the soil looks dry. Because you are not working alone. Heaven is working with you. But the tools of heaven are not always obvious. Sometimes they come disguised as challenges, delays, or broken plans, but they are tools nonetheless, sculpting, shaping, forming you into the version of yourself who is ready to carry your purpose. And what is your purpose? It is not a job. It is not a title. It is the full embodiment of your truth. The courage to live from your essence. The willingness to become light in a world that thrives on distraction. The discipline to stay aligned even when it's difficult. And that kind of life cannot be built on convenience. It must be carved through challenge, through redirection, through deep internal clarity. That is why this moment in your life, as uncertain as it may feel, is sacred. Because it is in this moment that your real path begins. There are no wasted seasons. Nothing you've endured is pointless. Every loss carved something open in you. Every rejection pointed you inward. Every lonely night refined your ability to sit with your own soul. These are not small things, these are foundations. And the higher your destiny, the deeper your roots must go. That's why the journey often starts with silence, stillness, waiting. Because the greater the structure, the more time is spent underground before it rises. You are not late, you are not behind, you are right on time for your awakening. The only question is, can you trust the process long enough to see the beauty unfold? Can you remain still when your mind wants to rush? Can you listen when your ego wants to argue? Because the path you are walking is not random. It is precise. It is sacred. It is yours. The divine does not make mistakes. You are not being ignored. You are being prepared. But preparation feels like pressure. It feels like discomfort. It feels like silence. That's how you know it's real. Because growth never happens in your comfort zone. It happens in the space where you must stretch beyond what you know, where you must release your control and embrace the unknown. You may not have all the answers, but you do have the moment. And in this moment you have the choice to believe, to trust, to continue. That is the mark of a true seeker. Not someone who has it all figured out, but someone who walks anyway. Someone who listens even when the voice is faint. Someone who believes that if God has brought them this far, He will not abandon them now. So do not be afraid of this season. Do not label it as darkness. Call it preparation. Call it divine redirection. Call it the sacred pause before the rise. You are not being punished. You are being positioned. Every detour has meaning. Every silence has wisdom. Every loss has a lesson. But only if you are willing to look deeper. July 20th, 2025 is not just another day. It is a turning point. Not because the world outside will suddenly change, but because you will. When you stop seeing yourself as lost and begin seeing yourself as guided. When you stop asking, why me? And begin asking, what is this trying to teach me? That is when the redirection becomes revelation. You were never lost. You were being called higher. And now, the only thing left to do is listen. There is a deep paradox in the human experience. The more noise we allow in, the less we hear what truly matters. And yet, the modern world is built upon noise. External noise from traffic, technology, conversations, media. Internal noise from thoughts, regrets, fears, projections. Day by day, this noise surrounds us and consumes us, to the point where many no longer know the sound of their own soul. They know how to scroll, they know how to react, but they do not know how to be still. They do not know how to listen. But there is another way, a higher path, a sacred rhythm that does not come from volume, but from depth, and that path is silence. Silence is not just the absence of words. It is a presence of its own. It is a field of energy, a mirror, a gateway, and yet very few know how to enter it. Most run from it. Because silence, when you are unfamiliar with it, feels empty. But when you understand it, it feels full, full of truth, full of clarity, full of divine communication. In our monastic training, we are taught that the greatest insights do not come from lectures or scriptures. They come from silence. When the body is still, when the breath is calm, when the mind settles like a pond, something sacred begins to rise from beneath. In that moment, you are not hearing through your ears, you are hearing through your being, through your awareness, through your soul. And what you hear is not a voice in the conventional sense. It is more subtle, more refined. It is the quiet impulse of truth, the whisper of alignment, the echo of the eternal. But to hear it, you must become quiet enough. You must tune your life like an instrument. You must remove distractions, not only from your environment, but from your inner world. Silence requires discipline. It requires the courage to face yourself without escape. Because in silence, you meet all the parts of you that have been avoided, the pain you pushed down, the questions you ignored, the truths you didn't want to admit. But they all rise in silence, not to torment you, but to liberate you. This is why many people cannot sit still. They are not afraid of boredom. They are afraid of meeting themselves. Because in stillness, the masks fall away. There is no one to impress, no one to perform for, only you. And if you have lived a life disconnected from your truth, this moment can feel terrifying. But it is also the beginning of your freedom. Because until you face yourself fully, you cannot change, you cannot grow, you cannot hear what God is truly trying to tell you. Silence is the language of the sacred. Not because God cannot speak through words, He can, but because words are limited. They are shaped by culture, belief, and interpretation. But silence is universal. It bypasses the intellect and speaks directly to the essence. It is in silence that your intuition sharpens. It is in silence that your heart begins to remember what the mind has forgotten. It is in silence that you begin to feel what is right, not based on logic, but based on resonance. And this resonance is not random. It is the compass of your soul, guiding you back to alignment. July 20th, 2025 is not just a date on a calendar. It is a symbolic turning point, a divine checkpoint. And to receive what this day has to offer, you must be quiet enough to notice. The world will continue screaming. Social media will continue distracting. Fear will continue selling. But you must choose a different path. You must choose silence. Not once, not occasionally, but as a way of being. Not silence from speaking, but silence from noise, from ego, from resistance. When God says, please listen, He is not demanding obedience. He is inviting you into stillness. He is saying, remove the distractions. Close your eyes. Return to your breath. Watch your thoughts without reacting. Sit with yourself long enough to hear what is beneath the surface. There is something waiting to be revealed. A truth uniquely meant for you, but it cannot enter a crowded mind. It cannot penetrate a restless heart. It needs space. It needs presence. Many of life's problems are not caused by lack of information, they are caused by lack of clarity. And clarity comes not from gathering more, but from releasing more. Releasing opinions, releasing urgency, releasing comparison. And in that release, something astonishing happens. You begin to feel light again, you begin to feel clear. Not because the world changed, but because your inner world became spacious enough to perceive what was always there. In the Shaolin tradition, we are taught to listen with our whole body, not just our ears, but our breath, our skin, our energy. When the mind is quiet, the entire being becomes a receiver. You begin to notice patterns, energies, subtle shifts. You begin to understand that guidance does not always come with fanfare. It comes through nudges, sensations, inner peace, or sudden knowing. These are the ways of silence. This is how the divine communicates with those who are tuned in. But you cannot tune in without practice. And practice requires patience. In the beginning, silence may feel boring. Your mind will resist. It will try to pull you back into activity. It will remind you of your to-do list. It will tell you nothing is happening. But if you stay, if you breathe, if you trust, slowly a new awareness begins to emerge. It is like the sun rising over a mountain. Slow, gentle, powerful. And suddenly, what was once invisible becomes clear. You see the patterns in your life. You see the cycles you've been repeating. You see the relationships that no longer serve you. You see the dreams that have been calling you, but you were too busy to hear them. And in that clarity, you are gifted something priceless: choice. You can choose differently. You can walk a new path. Not because someone told you to, but because you finally heard the truth within yourself. This is the power of silence. It reconnects you to yourself. It realigns you with what is sacred. And when you are aligned, your actions become more powerful. Your presence becomes more peaceful. Your decisions become more intuitive. You no longer live on autopilot. You live with awareness. And awareness is the gateway to transformation. Do not wait for life to become quieter. It won't. The world thrives on distraction. You must become the stillness amidst the storm. You must become the calm eye of the hurricane. This is the true training, not to escape life, but to live in it with centeredness. To walk through chaos with grace. To listen deeply even when the world shouts, because in that deep listening, you become unshakable. So on July 20th, do not only mark the day, mark the shift. Set aside time, not for doing, but for being. Sit in silence, not to achieve anything, but to receive everything. Listen to your breath, feel your heartbeat. Notice the thoughts, watch them pass like clouds. Do not follow them, do not fight them, just observe. And slowly the noise begins to fade, the space opens, the message arrives. It may not come in words, it may come as peace, as certainty, as release, but it will come. And when it does, you will know it. Because it will not feel like pressure. It will feel like coming home. The answers you've been chasing will arrive, not because you pushed harder, but because you finally became quiet enough to hear them. Silence is not passive. It is active presence. It is the most powerful state a human being can enter, because in silence, you become aligned with the rhythm of the universe. You begin to act from knowing, not from guessing, from wisdom, not from reaction, from peace, not from fear. And this shift will change everything. The way you speak will change. You will speak less, but your words will carry power. The way you move will change. Your steps will feel intentional. Your relationships will change. You will stop needing validation because you are no longer disconnected from yourself. You have become rooted in silence. You have become grounded in listening. God is always speaking. The question is, are you quiet enough to hear Him? Let this be your practice. Let silence be your teacher. Let stillness be your guide. You don't need more information. You need more awareness. And awareness begins in the quiet. So today, begin. Turn down the noise. Step away from distraction. Sit. Breathe. Be. In the stillness you will hear what your soul has always known. And when you listen, truly listen, your life will begin to reflect the clarity of your inner world. Not because the world became less chaotic, but because you became more peaceful. This is the way, this is the wisdom. This is the silence that speaks. Discipline is often misunderstood. People hear the word and think of restriction, of limitation, of harsh rules and cold structures. But true discipline, the kind that leads to awakening, is not about punishment. It is about freedom. It is about choosing the path that brings your soul into alignment over the path that temporarily pleases your senses. Discipline is love in action. It is the highest form of self-respect. It is the bridge between who you are now and who you were born to become. In the monastery, we live by rhythms. We rise before the sun, we train, we sit in silence, we practice movement and stillness, not to impress others, but to master ourselves. Every day, we begin again, not because we failed the day before, but because mastery is not a destination, it is a lifestyle. It is a relationship with the present moment. And the glue that holds it all together is discipline. Without discipline, desire remains a dream. With discipline, that dream becomes destiny. There is a spiritual force that moves through all things. Some call it God. Some call it Tao. Some call it Source. It does not matter what name you give it. What matters is whether you are aligned with it. And alignment does not happen by accident. It happens by commitment. It happens when you say, I choose to show up even when I don't feel like it. It happens when you say, I will no longer betray my highest self for comfort. That is discipline. Not just consistency of action, but consistency of intention. Every choice becomes a sacred act. On July 20th, 2025, many will seek answers. Many will look outside for signs. But the real question is, are you prepared to receive the answers when they come? Because truth is not hidden. It is always available. What is missing is not revelation, it is readiness. And readiness comes through discipline. A distracted mind cannot hold clarity. A reactive body cannot channel purpose. A restless heart cannot carry peace. The vessel must be strong to carry the message. And the work of making that vessel strong is the work of discipline. There is no alignment without effort. Just as a blade must be sharpened to cut, the soul must be trained to see. This training is not glamorous. It is not shared on social media. It is done in silence, in repetition, in devotion. It is saying no to the lower impulses so you can say yes to the higher calling. It is choosing meditation over distraction, prayer over panic, service over selfishness. Not once, not occasionally, but daily, until it becomes who you are. Discipline is not about being perfect. It is about being present. You will fall. You will forget. You will feel resistance. But discipline says, return. Begin again. Get up. Try one more time. Not because it's easy, not because it's comfortable, but because something deeper inside you knows. This is the path. This is the way. And every time you return, you become stronger. Every time you recommit, you move closer to alignment. There are moments in life when a door opens, a sacred door, a divine window of opportunity, and if you are not ready, you will miss it. Not because you were unworthy, but because you were unprepared. The door does not wait. Timing is divine, and preparation is your responsibility. If God says, please listen, and you are not disciplined enough to quiet your life, how will you hear? If destiny calls, but your habits have made you numb, how will you answer? This is why discipline is not optional. It is essential, because without it, you are at the mercy of your emotions. Without it, you are controlled by impulses. You become reactive, not responsive. You become scattered, not focused. And in that state, you cannot walk the sacred path. The path requires intention. It requires strength. It requires the humility to say, I am not here to indulge. I am here to serve. I am here to become. But how does one build discipline? Not all at once. Not by force, but by devotion. By starting small. By choosing one thing and showing up for it every day. You don't need to do everything. You just need to do one thing fully. It could be your morning practice, your breath work, your prayer, your training. But do it with presence, with reverence, with attention. Over time, this becomes your foundation. And once the foundation is stable, you can build higher. Discipline is sacred because it teaches you who you are. When things are easy, anyone can feel spiritual, but it is in the difficulty where true strength is revealed. When the body aches, but you still move. When the mind resists, but you still sit. When the world distracts, but you still focus. This is where transformation happens. Not in comfort, but in the fire of choice. Discipline is that fire. It burns away the false self, so the real self can emerge. Many people wait for motivation. But motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. Discipline does not wait. It decides. It is not based on feeling. It is based on vision. It is rooted not in mood, but in purpose. If your path depends on how you feel, you will never finish. But if your path depends on what you are committed to, then no obstacle can stop you. This is the power of discipline. It makes your future stronger than your past. Your purpose stronger than your pain. When you are disciplined, you begin to see life differently. You do not run from discomfort, you lean into it knowing it is your teacher. You do not avoid responsibility, you embrace it, knowing it refines your character. You do not chase instant pleasure, you choose lasting meaning. And in doing so, you become someone trustworthy. Trustworthy to yourself, trustworthy to others, trustworthy to carry the wisdom that only comes through perseverance. It's trustworthy to carry the wisdom that only comes through perseverance. This is what divine alignment requires. Not talent, not luck, but trustworthiness. Can you hold what God gives you? Can you carry the light without being consumed by ego? Can you walk the path without being distracted by detours? Only discipline prepares you for this. Only discipline makes you a worthy vessel. Because discipline is not only about action, it is about integrity. It is about becoming someone that heaven can rely on. There is a rhythm to the universe, a sacred order. And when you are disciplined, you begin to move with that rhythm. You stop forcing. You start flowing. You stop doubting. You start trusting. Because now your actions are not random. They are rooted. Your steps are not rushed. They are deliberate. You do not waste time because you understand the value of presence. You do not seek chaos because you know the cost of losing your peace. On July 20th, something opens. A window. A spiritual alignment. A moment when those who have prepared will receive. Not because they are better, but because they are ready. And readiness is built through discipline. It is not enough to want it. You must be it. You must live in a way that your very breath becomes a prayer. Your walk becomes a meditation. Your presence becomes a message. This is what the path demands. And this is what discipline delivers. You cannot fake discipline. You either live it or you don't. It shows in your posture, in your eyes, in your energy. It speaks without words. When you meet a disciplined person, You feel it. There is gravity. There is depth. There is stillness. Not because they are trying to impress, but because they have faced themselves and chosen growth again and again. They are not free from struggle. They are free through struggle. This is the paradox. Discipline does not limit you. It liberates you. It breaks the chains of addiction, procrastination, distraction. It frees you from the lower self. It opens the gates of potential. Without it, you may taste moments of inspiration, but you will never build a life upon it. Inspiration is the spark, but discipline is the firewood. It is what keeps the flame alive when the winds of life begin to blow. So now ask yourself, what are you committed to? Not what do you wish for, not what excites you for a moment. What are you disciplined enough to return to again and again until it shapes you? That is your true path. That is your alignment. And if you are unsure, begin with your body, begin with your breath. Begin with something small and sacred and honor it every day. Over time, it will grow. Over time, it will transform you. Let July 20th not be a day of wishful thinking, but a day of divine action. A checkpoint of commitment. A sacred reminder that your future is not written by chance. It is written by your choices. And your choices are shaped by your discipline. Not discipline as punishment, but discipline as power, as devotion, as spiritual strength. God is not asking for your perfection. He is asking for your presence, your effort, your willingness to align your daily actions with your highest purpose. If you fall, rise. If you forget, remember. If you doubt, trust again. The path is not straight, but with discipline, it is steady. You will not always feel ready, but you do not need to feel ready to be ready. You simply need to commit, to show up, to train your body, your mind, your soul. And in doing so, you become someone who can hold what others only hope for. Discipline is the proof that you are serious. It is the evidence that your transformation is not just a dream, but a priority. It is the signal you send to the universe that you are ready, not just to receive blessings, but to become a blessing. Not just to seek light, but to carry it. Not just to speak truth, but to embody it. So choose discipline, not just for today, but for who you are becoming. Let it be the thread that weaves your life into something sacred. Let it be the fire that purifies your intentions. Let it be the mirror that keeps you honest. Let it be the doorway through which divine alignment becomes not just an idea, but your reality. You are not here to live by chance. You are here to live by choice. And that choice begins again and again with one quiet